Alright guys, we're nearing the end of all the type support EZAs, but next up to counterpart pan supported extreme AGL is indeed Meta Rildo. Once again, just to show you, we do have no dupes in him, level 1 links all over the place. Can't lie, I thought Super Boo was one of the worst. I mean, that's for SA effects, not SA effects, sorry, like, he's in a very poor position. I can't lie, I think maybe Rildo might be worse than him. But this is the team we got him on. Our 3 units, or AGL units, are King Vegeta, LR Golden Frieza, who's still pretty good, and EZA LR Nappa and Vegeta. We are on Terrifying Conquerors just because the only 200% lead is the LR Mega Shenron GT Hero 200% lead, who I don't have. And not to mention, Rildo doesn't have many categories. He literally has 3, and they're all not in the best of spots. GT Bosses, Mess, Terrifying Conquerors, way too old, Artificial Life Forms, forever lacking behind. But starting turn 1, 106k attack stats, 61k defense. We actually can get him a ton of orbs. 9 key spheres, so 450% attack and defense. How many AGL? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to get a total of 100% attack and defense per AGL key sphere on top of that, and a 50% chance to crit. Of course, we do have his guard, so I'm just going to leave him in slot 1. We're up to a 684k attack stat, 271k defense. And on top of that, we are going to, on super attack, greatly raise attack and defense by 50% for 1 turn as well, which is very nice. We are starting with a super attack, which we should be okay with because this is also a strength unit. Yeah, 4.1 million, not too bad considering, again, support type units. But in terms of SA effects, this is decent. This is what I would have preferred Gohan to have, or stack defense instead. The same with cheats, like 50% attack and defense for the turn would have been a lot more useful than stacking attack by 50%. Like, these units just don't need that. But in terms of Rildo, he's not in a great spot. As I said, I thought Super Boo was bad. Dare I say Rildo's worse, but Rildo has so much potential because of how much potential GT Bosses has. Like, he has 3 categories, which is, I think, the lowest out of any of the support units. I said Artificial Life Forms, there's good units there. But the category's just forever behind, just like androids. Like, there's never enough new units or buffs for EZA's new units that get released all at once for the category to kind of catch up with everyone else. But there's good units on this team. You know, EZA LR Super Baby 2 or Great 8 Baby. You know, there's Gamma 1. There's eventually going to be the LR Gamma 1 and 2. I mean, there's LR Super Boo. LR Meta Cooler's not bad. He has aged. You know, there's also the likes of Gamma 2 in here, but again, he's aged. Then we also have Boo Tanks. Do we have Boo Tanks in here? Yeah, we have Boo Tanks. Again, his EZA's penned in from the 9th anniversary, but he's very good. It's just a very mishmash category. Like, the best units are very mishmash in terms of actually putting them in one team and how they work together. I mean, there's good potential EZAs, but again, they're pending. It's not like, apart from Boo Tanks, like, oh yeah, we know they're coming. They're coming, we just have no idea when. You know, that applies to like almost every unit in the game who doesn't have an EZA. So I guess there's that, but then there's not really, there's hardly any good extreme AGL units to make sure you get the kind of nuke in turn, but also have enough AGL units in general, because they're not going to be superclass units, so it doesn't really matter. But there's not enough AGL units on that team to trigger his guard. So there's also that, and then you have Terrifying Conquerors, which way back when, this was a strong category. You know, Final Form Cooler, EZA Cooler, BKP, Ginyu, LR Golden Frieza. There's a ton of good units, or at least they were good units. Now this category is just too old. It's too old. So, I mean, realistically, you're not going to be using this in any of the more recent difficult content, even the stuff we have on Global, let alone the 9th anniversary. And then his final category, as I said, while he doesn't really have kind of anywhere to go, if you will, GT Bosses just has so much potential. 12 key spheres though, 12 key spheres. only 2 of them not AGL, so 905k attacks at 259k defense, while we still have this guard active, which is good. The GT bosses just has so much potential. Like, the lead for a start is there's only 200% lead in LR Mega Shenron. On top of that, LR Mega Shenron comes under an extreme AGL unit, so you're ticking off 2 boxes at once. And then while LR Mega Shenron himself isn't in the best spot, as long as there's good GT boss units and EZAs coming soon, the category can get a slight revival, just kind of like Universe 6 did with all those Universe 6 EZAs. If GT bosses got the same treatment and like a new Dokkan Fest or 2 throughout the year, it would be in a much better spot and Rildo would have a much better time of it. So you've already got LR Mega Shenron. Actually, to be fair, outside of LR Mega Shenron, there's no more AGL units. But I mean, if a new unit dropped, that would be another one. That's the only problem. GT bosses would be the best place to put him, but there isn't enough AGL units to trigger this man's guard, which is something you kind of really want to do, especially like for the early turns, the early phases of the content we have. But as always, GT bosses just has so much potential. It's just if Dokkan gives it to them. But I said I thought super bosses was in a not super bosses, super boo, sorry, was in probably the worst type support. Actually, probably Rildo. Like, I generally don't see the need. You don't have no need to use this guy, because I said you're not using artificial life forms. Yes, there's Android. Is there Android? Yeah, Android 21 should be on this team, right? No. Is she? No, Android 21's not on this team. Wrong category. But artificial life forms, you're not running. It's too far behind the content we have, and it's way far behind all the other categories you could use. Terrifying Conquerors, as I said, is just too old at this point. Like, it's not good enough to be running. And we've also run out of his guard, but we're just gonna see how he does. I mean, he's getting 13 key spheres. So how much defense do we have? 394, but then we are going to get 50% attack and defense after he supers, so his defense is actually in quite a solid spot for a support unit. And as I said, GT bosses is just a mess. As I said, it has potential, but that's if Dokkan gives it to them, which kind of puts GT bosses in a very similar spot. The likes of artificial life forms. Yeah, we're dead. We were getting super that back to back. Same position as artificial life forms, where it's too far behind. But if they did give them, like, as I said, Universe 6 treatment, where there's a bunch of EZAs, like a big EZA, then like loads of good side EZAs and like a brand new Dokkan Fest, it would actually probably get a revival just like Universe 6, and Rildo could slot onto that team perfectly. Does need more AGL units, but there's just nowhere to run this guy. You have no reason to use him because you aren't using the categories he goes on. There's not even like there's a 170 lead you can kind of squeeze him onto. You have nowhere to use him. And obviously he's an extreme unit, so that's already against him, but you have nowhere to use this guy and nowhere to utilize his support. Kind of similarly to Jeets, but at least Jeets kind of gets away with it because he's actually on like a good team or two. This guy has no good teams, nowhere to utilize his extreme AGL support. So you pretty much have no need to use him, which is a shame because the passive is solid, the passive is good, and the super attack effect is decent as well. But you just have nowhere to be using Meta Rildo at all. Really disappointed with this one, but I mean, as I said, there's just nowhere to use him. With having 3 categories that are all so far behind and in the mud, yeah, realistically, he isn't going to be used anywhere. But you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a good rest of your day, and post.